Another one.
Another one, mate.
Layers.
Yeah, man.
Another Layers podcast.
Another Layers podcast.
How you feeling about this one?
I'm feeling ready for it, man.
Yeah?
This one's quite a deep one.
It's a deep one.
But of course, definitely excited to get into it. There's definitely some things that we'll be able to learn from it. But man, how's the week been anyway?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. A lot of work. We started, a couple new projects at my company, so
Yeah.
taking care of those. But otherwise, it's been good. I'm excited for this one because I think this conversation will be one that we revisit.
For sure.
I think it's too deep to just have once and just it's done, right? Even some of our past ones we could potentially revisit, but this one specifically, I think this will be a good foundation for the next one.
Yeah, I think as well there's elements of it that, at least for me personally, I'm not going to be able to really know how I would feel until I experience exactly what we're talking about. And so, yeah, this one's interesting. For me, it's going to be like talking a lot about how I think I might feel.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how that compares to when inevitably...
Yeah, I think we say what it is because it's like
we built up a lot of tension.
Yeah.
Haven't we, mate? Yeah, they're on the edge of their seats at this point. But we wanted to talk about death and loss, sort of feelings around that, how we feel when people close to us die, how we feel about our own deaths as well, which can't escape from. It will happen at some point. But there's a lot of emotions and thoughts around it that I think could be cool to jump into.
Interesting for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon we just go for it, man. So
of course.
I mean, how do I sort of look at when close family and friends have died? I mean, I guess fortunately for me, it hasn't really happened. There've been close-ish family members who have unfortunately passed, but there's never been someone in my life who left a hole because they weren't there anymore.
Yeah. You would know.
Yeah. It was more sort of me being, around others who were feeling that way, and it's weird when that's the case, man, because you can feel like you're like a bad friend or a bad son or a bad, confidant for that person because you're not feeling the same level of grief, but it's just one of those surreal feelings, man. But I feel almost more scared about the fact that I haven't experienced it because it's something I know will be bad, but I don't know how bad it will be, type thing. So
I mean, it depends a lot on the situation. You can have I've lost 3 of my 4 grandparents, and they left a bit early, so that was actually pretty hard. But I know that if my last one lives a rest of her life in a fulfilled and happy way, that when she does pass away, it'll be a lot easier to take than the first 3. The first 3 felt unfair. It felt, loads of emotions like that. Obviously, my grandma's still very healthy. I see her every time I go back to Italy, and I hope that she can live a long rest of her life. And I think she's got many years left.
There we go, man.
She's strong.
Man.
But the others felt just a bit early. So an assumption and the feeling that I have is that not every death is equal, not just because of how close you are to that person, but also because
of circumstances,
how it happens.
Yeah. So then, just out of interest, you might as well sort of expand on that. Like, when do you sort of think it's not as bad? Or when would you think it wouldn't affect you, or you wouldn't have that this is unfair sort of feeling?
Well, to me it only affects me as much as I can feel that the person's life who's passed away they've gone too early, or it was unfair, it was unjust. If that person lives a good, fulfilled life and their life, and they go away peacefully and they go away at the right time, then I wouldn't the only reasons I would feel bad would be kind of selfish reasons,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
I can take those reasons far easier than the other ones.
Mm.
You know, I can be upset because of because I'm upset.
Yeah.
I can take that and move on with that very easily. It becomes a lot harder when you feel it's unfair, and
Yeah.
when you feel that it's unfair, and when it is unfair, you know that everyone else is also extremely, it's well, lots of grief, lots of hurting,
Yeah.
and that makes it, you know,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot worse.
How do you sort of come to peace with it being unfair, or any other sort of death situation? Like, what is that process of getting back to like level-headed peace like look like? Because I don't know, like in my head, you're never gonna find reasons. I mean, life is just so random. Things happen for reasons we don't know. Things happen suddenly. Other things have causes that are easily identifiable, but at the end of the day, that why, it seems like it's elusive. Like, you ever gonna find that reason why, or is that how you
No,
get
you're not.
peace?
I don't think you are. Everyone's got their own way of dealing with things,
Mm.
and if it gets you to a good place, then every way is right to a certain extent. I think for me, it's being grateful for the time that we had shared,
Yeah,
and being grateful to have developed those feelings in the first place.
yeah.
There's so many people that we never get to, especially within our family,
Mm-hmm.
we never get to meet, and we hear of them in the past. Maybe they died very early, maybe we just didn't grow up in the same countries, and
Mm.
the bonds you could have created with those people might have been beautiful, but you never got to meet them, so you don't feel any type of way. But with the people who you do feel grief for once they pass away, you should be grateful for everything that you did experience with them until
Yeah,
that moment. And so it's still unfair,
yeah,
but so many things are unfair,
yeah.
and you just have to move past. One personal thing that I can say is that because I've got a brother who's younger, probably more responsible than me, I'm still the older brother, and I've got, of course, a mother and my dad as well. But I feel like I've always, felt like I can internalize my grief to make sure that I can take care of them in a way to like tell them it's gonna be fine, this and this and that. And so
Yes.
it makes it a lot easier for me because I almost don't think about it. I think about making them feel better. And by doing that, I'm not really thinking about what's happened anymore. So you can agree or disagree with that because you could say, oh yeah, you have to go through it yourself. It's gonna wind up into something bigger. Personally, it hasn't so far, and I probably held grief for longer,
Yeah,
but at a lower
yeah,
volume levels,
yeah.
right?
I mean, honestly, I can't really agree or disagree. As I said, it's one of those sort of situations that everyone will go through in their own way. But yeah, it's just, I mean, just the nature of it, man. Just the finality, the prospect of unfinished business, the way that things can just, it's out of your control. But I mean, one thing about when I see other people's deaths that's crazy and that plays on my mind is that, and I hope this doesn't come across as selfish, but it just happens for me. It reminds me of my own mortality. Like, you see it on social media all the time, news all the time. So much news about death, death, death. This person's died. This person's died. This many deaths in Gaza. And it just reminds you of your own mortality and, one aspect of life that fortunately we're not going to be able to escape. So how does how do you sort of see
I'd
that?
like you to answer that first, since you
So like, honestly, I have an interesting sort of relationship with that. I don't really fear death. It more sort of just unsettles me in a way, just because of the whole unknown about it. firstly, we don't know what exactly will happen when we die, and then we don't know when or in what circumstances we die as well. So there's just so much unknown about it that just unsettles me. And then also, I'm a Christian, right? So, obviously I believe in heaven and hell, but even though I believe in that, I still have no idea what that could actually be like. So there's still like, I don't know, I'm gonna die at some point. How is my consciousness or my soul gonna get to wherever, hopefully heaven is?
We'll see about that. Oh no,
But
definitely.
do you know what I mean? It's just weird. But I don't feel that scared of it because I know it's part of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I agree with it, even on the heaven and hell thing. For me, it's just more about I do fear an early death, but again, not because of my life.
Because of the impact on others, for sure.
Yeah, but I it's the main reason is that it's not an internal feeling, and I am pretty sure that any one of us, when put in a situation where you could literally die, if a gun's held to your head, if you're, I don't know, in the middle of the sea on a boat, and you're gonna feel unbelievably scared, and you're gonna want to keep your life as much as possible. So I don't want to be naive and thinking, oh yeah,
no,
I only care about death because of other people.
Human
I know.
instincts as well.
Yeah, exactly. But the main thing is that I've just seen sudden, unexpected deaths really hit people and families really hard, and I fear that for myself just as much as anyone else close to me. So
it's interesting because you mentioned like young death, but to me it's like what I don't want is to die and have not achieved the things I want to achieve. And these aren't like crazy things, but things like have a loving relationship or marriage with a woman that you deeply care about, having kids, giving back to my parents in a way that is meaningful, like it just be so, if I'm on my deathbed and I ain't done that, mate, that's gonna be a sad time for man. But at the same time, it's like, it's just a weird one. It's just a weird one. That idea of young death is something that you see so much more as well, or like in terms of social media, and so it's hard to fully forget about that, about the possibility of that. But yeah, man, it's a weird one. I hope I achieve everything I want to achieve before I die, man. But
no, of course.
yeah.
I wanna ask you something slightly different to do with this topic, but just because you brought up social media, and it brought in my head that we're moving towards more and more a digital world where now you can interact with AI and it feels like a person. And I remember this Black Mirror episode where this guy suddenly passed away. He must have been in his late 20s, early 30s, and his wife got an email from a company that would send.
I remember this episode.
Yeah, they would send a
robot version.
A robot, skin everything, right? Which was programmed on all the memories, all the text, everything of that person.
Yeah.
With AI, I mean, I don't see why that would be hard to do. On a surface level, you can recreate someone. You can already do it into a GPT. You can ask it to, rewrite emails in the same tone that I write them. How do you feel about that in the future if someone close to you or close to someone dies? Not only how you feel about whether you would do it or not, but just if someone close to you does it because someone's passed away, and you see that they're communicating with that AI that closely replicates.
So I've got sort of two things that initially popped to mind that are actually contradictory. The first is that like, wow, it's crazy where technology has gone, that's even something that we're able to talk about and think about. I think for a lot of people, it could bring some level of comfort, but at the end of the day, it's not that person. And I think there's almost a disservice that you could be doing to their memory to even like say, because you want that comfort, you're gonna make essentially a fake version of them that doesn't let you do things like really look back and be thankful for the memories you had, doesn't let you get closure, doesn't let you go through the natural process of healing.
Yeah.
And all for a bit of, not a bit of, because it's one of the most just devastating things that can happen. But to me, it's too unnatural, man. It's too unnatural, and I know that there's benefits, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you can say there's benefits because there's benefits to a lot of situations, but I think the overarching thing is, at least for me, it would be a quick fix, a temptation
exactly.
that
Probably make things worse in the end.
yeah. In the Black Mirror made it a lot worse.
Yeah, man, she knew, because it's not them. It's not, and it never will be them.
It never will be them, and I think that the point you made about it being a disservice to the memory of the person is very correct. It was just a thought that came in my head because I feel that we are probably, people have already got digital girlfriends and boyfriends that it's not going to take long or much to replace a past loved one, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah,
I didn't think
it's mad because you just said replace, and it is replace. It's not reviving, or
no.
It's replacing, and you don't want to do that, man. Like imagine, your memories of this loved one now start getting intertwined with the memories
with
the memories of the robot. Like that's just dark, fam. That's just dark. But
do you know what's funny? Imagine you have the personality of someone that would buy a robot like this, and so does your significant other, and then you pass away, so your significant other buys that robot, and then the significant other passes away, so the robot buys the significant other's robot, man.
Oh, that's crazy, mate. Yeah. Oh, that is crazy.
I think there probably is the right balance to some sort of digital memory where maybe your grandchildren could interact with the bloodline to some extent to find information
That's interesting.
about that person. A way, maybe just a big hard drive of data that simply said this person worked in these years, these were their hobbies, they loved this football team, blah blah. I think there's a level to it that would be very interesting, and
I wouldn't mind more of a sort of organized documentation of what someone was really like. I was about to say something like, it'd be cool if future loved ones could access my memories and stuff, but I don't know if I want them. I don't know if I want anyone to know me like that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's just, humans aren't meant to know each other on that level. But
no. Yeah, the things that are already written about people in books.
Yeah.
I mean, the most famous people from olden times have got books written about them.
Yeah.
Probably not fully true, probably, exaggerated or made to make them seem worse or better. But yeah, I think it would be really cool.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I'd want to do before I die. Like I'd want to
document.
I'd want to like have some way of communicating like my values and my key experiences, key photos, just things that I think would stand the test of time that future family members would take value from. I'd want to have that sorted out before going, man, because there's so much wisdom that gets passed on through the years but also gets lost through the years, and so much like memory and joy, and also just detail from times that have just gone that we just will never be able to reconnect with, unfortunately. But man, like that is a cool. I think that's going to be a really. I think that will be an ethical topic that comes up
Yeah,
in our lifetimes, man.
yeah, yeah,
For sure,
yeah. I think so.
for sure. On that sort of note about, okay, having documentation or some record of things that you'd want to leave to people, right? What would you want people to sort of say about you when you died, ideally?
I mean, I think that, let's say if I died tomorrow, it would have to be based on my personality, and hopefully it's good traits. Um, my achievements so far aren't, I wouldn't particularly write about them.
Yeah,
I'm proud of things that I've done, especially relative to our age, but I haven't done anything yet that has contributed to the level that I wanted to. So eventually I hope to do something that is worth writing about in the light that I would like it to be written about.
Yeah.
But otherwise it should be based on the person that I am.
for sure. For sure. Do you reckon you'd be written about in a way that you'd be written about in reality in a way that you'd want to be sort of seen? Do you think do you think that you've lived in a way you'd want to be remembered, is what I'm asking basically?
I think so. I think for the most part, yeah. I think
that's
so.
good. That's good.
I think there'll be a couple of things that I want to change from now on,
Yeah.
but I accept them as truths up until now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to be written differently if
Yeah.
I died suddenly, because it would just be turning it into a lie. So there are things that I'm proud of, which I think would be reflected, and then there are things that I want to, hopefully we live long enough to change and improve.
You know what's interesting, yeah? So you said you wouldn't want things to be said about you that are a lie, even if they're good things, because I feel like we always romanticize like dead people. Like we always sort of, obviously out of respect for them and stuff, show them in their best light, potentially make a little exaggeration here and there. Do you think that that's actively like a bad thing?
It depends. In my opinion, it depends on the context. I mean, if you speak about someone at a funeral, then I think it should be the best light possible. I also think that after a funeral, if you speak to someone close, about that person, maybe you're both close to him, you would speak about him more honestly. You'd probably laugh about some of the things that weren't perfect about that person. So if it was to be written in a book, I don't think it should be exaggerated. If it was to be said in a specific context, such as a funeral, then I think it can be completely positive, especially around the people that truly know him and cared about him.
No, I think that's a good system, man, because when we learn about history and stuff, we read books and form these perceptions of people, we really have no idea like what they were actually like, man. And
nothing, yeah.
And that's just crazy to me. But
it's also a thing that you just can't understand someone unless you've really met them. Like, some of the books would say he had a funny personality and loads of adjectives to describe it, but you can't then visualize a person as if you've interacted with them.
Yeah. I mean, that's one reason why, and this is sort of digressing, but that's why I don't idolize like any celebrity really, because you don't actually know them.
No, of course you don't
know. It's all image. It's not all image, but it's not as genuine as if they were right in front of you.
Of course not.
It's through the filter of media or film or music, whichever sort of
content.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
How would you want to be written about?
Very similar to yourself. If I died tomorrow, it would mainly be about the sort of man that I've been. I mean, I'd want to be known as a, man of honor, man of God as well, man of just overall sort of good man. Someone who's also a man of action. And honestly, I can't say that I've been those things to the level where I think it would be the first things people would say. Like, but it's interesting that that's the case for me, because what it says is that because of this discrepancy between what I think people would say and what I'd want people to say, well, then there's action that I've got to take in order to bridge that gap, and why do I want to have those things said about me? Because if I'm a man of honor, man of action, man of God, then then I think I can achieve everything I want to do in my life, I feel like if that's truly been said about me, then there's not much more I could have done to sort of at least get fulfillment in my life. And I think that just goes generally, man. I think everyone, it's an uncomfortable thought, but I think everyone should think about that. Like, how would you be remembered? And is that how you want to be remembered, man?
It's so hard to truly feel these things and then action to fill the gap in your case. It is really hard. Sometimes I'm walking around and I think about like death and maybe I should be moving quicker, and for around half an hour I'm listening to music. I'm ready, man. Like, I could tackle a bear if it came at me, but then it tails off. And this is a whole different argument about how you should be acting rationally instead of emotionally. But yeah, it's hard. It's, but it's good. Like you said, it's good to think about. It's good to talk about it.
Yeah, it's good to think and talk about. You don't can't let it just become something that dominates your life, because that's not efficient. Got to be able to live, and also sort of live with the long term in view as well. Making plans over time.
I think you have to assume that that you've got a long, prosperous life ahead. Yeah. I don't think you can assume that your life is going to be short. But you should look at the long side of life as one that you want to fully maximize, as I can lay back because I've got a long life.
For sure.
But speaking about long life, if you were given the option, only you, no one else, would you live forever?
Nah, I really wouldn't, because look, it's a good and bad situation. Without the good, without the bad, there's no good. Without death, there's no life. Like, there's a cycle to that, and I think if you were alive forever, you'd be violating just a fundamental law of life that would probably start making you feel weird. Here's one thing, right? So, I don't know, there's a natural like human desire in us to keep doing new things and get new experiences. And I think that would actually sustain your life for a bit. But then it would get to a point where it's just you're getting anxious from it, and it's not really that great. Or you get to a point where you've actually done everything, because there is finite things you can do.
Of course.
And then you're just bored. I'm like, I don't want to get to that stage, man.
Unless Elon Musk and SpaceX.
Yeah.
But
then you got things like, okay, I don't know. Do you think, is this life that good that you want to have it forever? Not that we know that there's like any other sort of life. Like, obviously I believe in afterlife, but we don't know that for sure. But is this life that good that I want it forever anyway? I don't know that I do. Yeah. What about you, man? What about you?
I feel like my comments are gonna, if people hear them, they're gonna take them in a bad way. But if I was thinking about the pure enjoyment of life, then I completely agree. I wouldn't want to live without the people I care about. You'd run out of experiences, you'd get bored.
forget them after time, man.
You forget them after time, and it's sad. And the people you keep meeting, they keep dying. So, in that sense, no. But if I was truly given that option, I would pick yes every single time. And the reason I would do so would be because I think I could actually make a true impact in the world across centuries. And I believe that, and this is where it might sound a bit arrogant, but I believe that my moral compass, or just the decision-making abilities that I would be able to implement, would be for the better of the world, to a greater extent than most people.
That's interesting, man.
You know, and I can already hear people saying, "What makes you think that you're better than blah blah blah?" All of this.
Yeah.
I'm not. You know, if anyone else thinks the same way, truly thinks the same way, then I applaud them for being able to voice it and taking that opinion. But I would, yeah, my decision would be yes.
So you do it for like the altruistic sense that you'd be able to do good forever, basically.
I would do it as a responsibility and as a choice that you have to make rather than want to make. I wouldn't really think about it. I've thought about it once, and that's the conclusion. And then there's so many factors that are unknown. For example, maybe I'm just someone that takes a lot longer to corrupt, right? And maybe in the environment that we live in the world that we live in, especially once you reach the higher powers, everyone is very corruptible, and I would just end up being someone who's being corrupted and live forever and be, you know, maybe I'm naive in that sense, but I can't know that. I can only know what I am right now, and I feel as of right now, I would contribute positively to the world, and therefore I would owe it, as a lot of people, of course, to the world to make that decision of saying yes, regardless of the actual feeling of living forever, because I don't think the actual feeling would be that great.
I feel that the way that you'd experience life and think would change after becoming immortal. Like, I feel like it'd be interesting because a load of pressures that confine us now would no longer apply to you. Like, imagine actually having all the time in the world to do something.
Yeah.
Would that be a positive? Depends on what type of person you are. Maybe you procrastinate more.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe it motivates you.
Yeah, exactly. So do you use the next years to have as many experiences as possible, knowing that you can get to your work eventually, or do you get to your work straight away? And I think the only right answer is getting to your work straight away, because then you attach yourself to a time and space that will eventually fade, and you'll be, you know, left with nothing from that time or space. But again, it's you know, it's we're just imagining things. So
But I mean, we are imagining things, and we know that we will die. But what do you think happens when you die, mate? What do you think happens?
I'm a Catholic as well, so I do believe in afterlife. But it is, you know, it's probably the most impossible thing to figure out.
Yeah. You know what I think, right? You know why I believe in an afterlife? I just think it would be really dark if there wasn't. And not because it would be nothingness, but dark in the sense that, look, if you're not going to get judged for the things that you do on this earth and how you've conducted yourself, then man, like evil people, criminals, just bad people in general, just there's nothing that they really face, then death really is an escape. And that's something that I just really hope isn't the case. Like a dictator that's oppressed people, like Stalin, you know, killed millions, oppressed millions, championed a dangerous ideology, affected the world in a negative way that we can't really even quantify that well. And if there's nothing after for him, then that's just, I don't know, man. That unsettles me a bit, bro.
Yeah, it unsettles me as well. I don't agree with viewing it like that. I don't agree with saying...
How do you view it?
Well, I don't think you can say it has to exist because otherwise this would almost be unfair. If it doesn't exist, then none of this is fair or, not, or unfair. None of this exists to a certain degree. Like good or evil doesn't exist, right? So I think, yeah.
Oh shit.
So, I mean, it's a similar conversation to what we've had in the past, but I think the best route is to live as if it does exist. Why would you live as if it doesn't? And to live a good life, to go to heaven.
Yeah.
Of course, it's an impossible topic to speak about.
It's an impossible topic. You know, I always like, not always, but every now and then, I'll watch like near-death experience videos.
Yeah.
And just see like, just the variety of what people have experienced, man. Like, some people have experiences related to the different faiths that they believe in. Some people are atheists and have experiences that bring them into faith, in whichever faith, you know, it is. Some people just see nothingness or feel nothing and just wake up. And I don't know, it's an interesting one that, you know, we'll never find that answer. And I feel like it's one of those things, like the more you look into, the sort of deeper you sort of get into the hole, because you just realize that you never really know.
Yeah.
But
have you ever had a dream of dying, where you've died in the dream?
I mean, like, any time that I faced mortal injury in a dream, I've just woken up. So like
mortal injury.
Like as in like,
yeah. But what are you dreaming of? Just like sword fighting and for the queen or something.
No, like, all right, let's say I've fallen off a building or something, something like that.
Of course.
You know, you just wake up, but I can't lie. I've had dreams where I've been in danger, and I felt that fear, man. That just raw fear, like, yo, this. And I don't think that's just, I expect to feel that when it happens, to in some extent, just that heart beating, just it's an interesting one.
I've had a few dreams where I've died in the dream, and there's few things that I've felt that are as surreal as that. And the first time, I remember them very, very clearly. The first time I died, I was in a room with my mum, and I was like taking her out because there were robbers in the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like telling her to hide under the bed or something, and I see the robber come in and he just shoots me in the heart. And I fall on my back, and I'm just leaning against the wall, and I just feel my life slowly fade away.
Oh, that's dark. Oof.
But it was this feeling of, I should have woken up by now, right? And it's just slowly fading away into nothingness. And my heart was pounding so much because I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything, and my mum was still there, and the robber was still there. And I thought I was gonna see what happened if he ran away, if the police came, anything, but instead I just eventually die, and the dream shuts off, right? That feeling of fading away was unique. I've never felt anything like it. Yeah. But this other feeling in my second dream was one of the most unbelievable dream feelings I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I was in a plane, and I've been doing this thing for the past few years where I just pray before flights, right? Yeah. I don't pray for myself. I'd say, it's just become a habit. I say thank you, and I say, thank you for the trip, everything, just, and in the dream, I don't pray, right? I forget to pray. And so I'm flying and I realize, oh my God, like I've broken a thing, maybe, we're gonna crash, and we're going over this mountain. Dreams are weird, right? I can see everything, but then I'm on my seat. And then I can see outside, like, everything, and I'm on my seat. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pray now. And I'm gonna say thank you for my mum and everything. So as the plane is flying, I start praying, and then I feel it drop, right? And I look outside the window and I can see that we're about to hit a mountain. So I start praying, close my eyes, and I realize we're gonna die. Everyone's shouting. I look outside the window, we're getting closer and closer and closer. So I accept it and sit back, and I start saying, like, Mom, I love you. Like, I start going into these kind of things, like every person I care about.
Yeah.
The feeling that was unique is that once we crash, from the black that I could see when I closed my eyes, I see red, right? I see from black to red. And my thoughts, where I was saying, I just specifically remember saying, Mum, I love you. It was like meant to be a sentence. I stopped thinking. It just stopped. Like, I couldn't finish my thought process of saying what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And it was just complete darkness in my dream for a numerous amount of seconds where I couldn't think. I couldn't, just complete ending to everything, right? And then after that few run of seconds, I woke up. But the feeling of I'm thinking, because in dreams I've had it where you can't speak anymore, right? Where you can't move anymore, where you can't, but the feeling of the thinking completely stopping and not being able to, it's just dark and there's nothing, was surreal.
That is weird, man. And that's what nothingness could be, man.
Yeah, I mean, these are dreams, so it means relatively, it means nothing, to be honest. It's probably...
But you know what's mad about them? They have like, they both seem like plausible ways. Like this could happen. I think both of those accounts are so interesting was because there's an element of like, right, that could be what it's like. I don't know, man. I think in general we should pay more attention to dreams though. Dreams can say a lot, I think, and
I have a lot of vivid dreams.
Can tell us a lot about how we really feel and things to potentially warn ourselves about. But yo, I kind of had chills while you were talking about that. That was crazy, man.
I just thought about it now. It was a while ago. It must have been just under a year ago. But there's a few dreams where you wake up and you're like, wow, that was a unique feeling. This one, and again, I've also had sleep paralysis a couple of times. Like, my sleep, it tends to be quite erratic and vivid, and this one was unique in its own way. And I've even tried to chase that. I kind of wanted to have that dream again, to feel it again, to remember it clear in a more clear way. I haven't had it since, but yeah.
That's mad. I mean, wow. Well, that's death, man. That's death. The great unknown. The great unknown, man. The great unknown that leaves the world without you. You know, it's hard to imagine it, man, because you can't imagine a world without you. It's all you've ever known, you know.
Of course.
And it's crazy to think about, but
like we said at the start, this is definitely a conversation we'll want to revisit.
For sure.
There's so many more angles to speak about. I mean, you mentioned near-death experiences, but there are accounts that are really interesting to just read about. A lot of them tend to be a bit of rubbish, and some of them are almost like conspiracy theories to a certain extent. Yeah. But there's some that are, you know, it's cool listening to those things.
It is. Tells you how the brain works as well, man. Mm-hmm. How we can process, or how the brain actually processes when it feels the body might be close. Yeah. So it's super interesting on that level too. But
I mean, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but a while ago I was really interested. We were all interested in psychedelics, DMT, all of these things. And from what I remember, I read, and I haven't back checked this, but when you die, your brain releases DMT. Yeah. Which makes you have that sort of flashing pictures, experience, and everything. But the thing that I've always thought is why? If the body knows you're dying, then why? What's the purpose? Because it could be, so you get to re-see your life for a second. Okay, so if you're dying, if there's nothing, if you know. But I haven't looked into this since. So it'd be good to look into it.
Oh yeah, definitely an interesting topic. I guess, one thing what can we take away from this episode? If death happens and you have grief to sort of work through, then make sure you've got a support system. Work through it at your own pace and in a way that's healthy for you. And in relation to your own death, take action now to make sure that that situation will be as easy as it can be for those who, you're close to. And,
And if you don't know how to take action, listen to our first episode, the first ever episode, where we kind of go into taking action and self-reflecting and everything.
Not wasting time, making the most of the time. But yeah, thank you very much. This has been another episode of Layers.